The arena was buzzing with excitement, lights flashing, fans cheering, and cameras capturing every angle. Jake Paul walked confidently toward the ring, his gloves laced, eyes focused. He knew the stakes. This wasn't just another fight. Across the ring, the larger-than-life figure of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stood with his trademark smirk, radiating arrogance. Before the fight even began, The Rock grabbed the microphone. His deep voice carried through the stadium. "Jake Paul? Weak. You're out of your league, kid. The ring is mine tonight." The crowd erupted, half booing, half cheering. Some were shocked at The Rock's boldness, others thrilled to see someone finally challenge Jake. Cameras zoomed in on Jake's face. For a moment he paused, letting the words sink in. But there was no anger, no panic. Just a calm, steady determination that only someone who had faced countless battles could possess. Jake raised his gloves slightly, a small, confident smile playing on his lips. "We'll see about that," he replied evenly. The tension was palpable. Reporters scribbled notes furiously. Social media feeds exploded with reactions. Everyone was talking. Did The Rock just insult Jake Paul? Can Jake really handle him? This is going to be insane. The Rock leaned in, towering over Jake, and added, "You'll regret stepping into this ring with me. Weaklings don't survive in my world." Fans around the arena could feel the intensity, the kind that makes your heart race. The cameras captured every twitch, every expression. Even the commentators, normally calm and analytical, were practically shouting. The audience had been set on edge. This wasn't just a fight. It was a clash of personalities, reputations, and egos. Jake's calmness only fueled the drama. While everyone expected fear, they were met with confidence. The Rock's arrogance was like a spark, and Jake's composure was the dry grass ready to catch fire. Something inside the crowd whispered, "This isn't going to end the way The Rock thinks." As the bell was about to ring, the air in the arena felt electric. Cameras zoomed in, fans held their breath, and social media exploded. Rock vs. Jake. Ciao, Jake Paul. The Rock. Everyone knew one thing. This fight wasn't just about punches. It was about proving who had the heart, the strategy, and the courage to dominate. And in that moment, before the first strike even landed, it was clear Jake Paul wasn't intimidated. The bell hadn't even rung yet. But the tension in the arena was suffocating. Jake Paul stood in his corner, gloves tight, muscles tense, eyes locked on The Rock. Across the ring, The Rock's towering presence radiated confidence, the kind of confidence that could intimidate almost anyone. He paced slowly, smirking, every movement deliberate, every gaze calculated. The cameras followed his every step. "Jake Paul?" he shouted again, loud enough for everyone in the stadium to hear. "You think you're ready? You think you can survive what I'm about to do to you? Weaklings crumble. And tonight, you're going to find out exactly what that feels like." Jake didn't flinch. He raised his gloves, relaxed his shoulders, and met The Rock's gaze without a hint of fear. "I've been training for this my whole life. I'm not afraid of you." The crowd reacted instantly. Half erupted in cheers for Jake, half jeered The Rock's arrogance. Cameras zoomed in on the fans' reactions. Some screaming, some holding their heads in disbelief, some recording every second for social media. The commentators were practically shouting over the roar of the audience. Look at Jake Paul, calm, focused. And The Rock? He's oozing arrogance. This is going to be a battle for the ages. The Rock leaned over the ropes, sneering. "Calm? You're trembling inside, kid. I can see it in your eyes. This isn't just a fight. This is my world. You step in here thinking you can compete, and I'll crush that delusion faster than you can blink." Jake took a deep breath, grounding himself. He knew The Rock's reputation. Everyone did. But he also knew his own capabilities. He'd trained for months, hours every day, preparing for every scenario. He wasn't here to just survive. He was here to prove that skill, determination, and strategy could overcome raw power and ego. The camera cut to the audience, capturing the mix of tension and excitement. People were on the edge of their seats. Phones flashed everywhere, capturing every second of this high-stakes moment. Social media notifications exploded as fans worldwide typed comments in real time, debating, cheering, and speculating. Who do you think will dominate the ring, The Rock or Jake Paul? Comment your pick and tell us which country or city you're watching from. We want to see fans from everywhere cheering in the comments." The Rock's smirk widened. He raised his fists in a mocking stance, circling Jake slowly like a predator. "Let's see what you've got. Show me that you're not just all talk." Jake mirrored the movements, defensive, ready, calculating. Every step he took was measured, every movement intentional. Sweat began to bead on his forehead, not from fear, but from focus and anticipation. The atmosphere was electric. The fans could feel it. Even the referees and trainers leaned forward, sensing the intensity that filled the arena like a live wire. Suddenly, The Rock launched a few mock strikes, testing Jake's reflexes. Jake dodged smoothly, countering with a feint that made the audience roar. The first sparks of tension had turned into a full-blown frenzy. Every dodge, every step, every subtle movement amplified the drama. The Rock's arrogance was palpable, but Jake's resilience shone even brighter. The commentators couldn't stop themselves. "Did you see that dodge? Jake Paul's timing is impeccable. The Rock's arrogance might be his downfall if he underestimates him." Fans were on their feet chanting Jake's name. Others shouted for The Rock, creating a chaotic, thrilling energy in the arena. Social media feeds exploded with clips, GIFs, and comments. "This is insane. Jake Paul looks unshakable. The Rock might finally meet someone who can challenge him." The Rock's face darkened. For the first time, the arrogance in his eyes wavered ever so slightly. He was used to opponents cracking under pressure, but Jake remained composed, calm, precise, and unflinching. The dynamic shifted. It wasn't just arrogance versus determination anymore. It was skill and strategy versus raw intimidation. As the bell finally rang, signaling the official start of the fight, the crowd erupted. Phones flashed everywhere. The energy was electric. Every eye in the stadium and online was glued to this moment. The Rock lunged first, confident, aiming to assert dominance immediately. But Jake was ready, anticipating every move, reading his opponent like a seasoned fighter. The battle had officially begun. And already it was clear. This fight wasn't going to be just about power. It was going to be about heart, strategy, and the will to prove yourself when everyone doubts you. The bell rang, echoing through the arena, and the fight was officially on. The crowd roared, a tidal wave of excitement and anticipation as The Rock charged forward with his signature intensity. Every step he took seemed to shake the ring itself. His glare bore into Jake Paul, a mix of disdain and aggression. Jake met the charge calmly, bouncing lightly on his feet, eyes locked on The Rock's every movement. He knew this was the moment that would define him. The first strike would set the tone. Either Jake would crumble under The Rock's raw power, or he would show the world that skill and resilience could match even the mightiest of opponents. The Rock threw a powerful right hook, aiming straight for Jake's jaw. The crowd gasped. It looked like it might land clean, but Jake pivoted, barely evading the blow. The sound of the glove slicing through air echoed like a warning. The fight had begun in earnest. Jake countered with a quick jab to The Rock's midsection. The impact was solid, but The Rock barely flinched, smirking at Jake's attempt. He was testing Jake's defenses, gauging the limits of his strength. Jake's eyes narrowed, calculating. He had trained for this moment, anticipating The Rock's arrogance, predicting the overconfidence that would eventually leave an opening. The arena erupted into chaos. Fans screamed with every movement. Phones flashed like 1,000 tiny stars, capturing every strike, every dodge, every twitch of emotion. Social media exploded in real time as clips circulated instantly. Commentators couldn't contain themselves. Incredible. Jake Paul's composure is unmatched. The Rock is testing him, but Jake's calm under pressure is a game changer. The Rock roared, delivering a swift combination of punches that pushed Jake back. Sweat flew through the air. For a brief moment, it seemed like the seasoned veteran would dominate the ring, just as he had dominated countless others. But Jake refused to falter. He ducked a second hook, rolled under a jab, and landed a precise uppercut that earned gasps from the audience. The crowd erupted even louder. Half the stadium was on their feet, screaming Jake's name. The other half shouted for The Rock, enthralled by the raw power and intensity. It was a clash of personalities, reputations, and sheer willpower. Every move told a story. Arrogance versus determination, power versus strategy, experience versus heart. The Rock's smirk briefly faltered. He hadn't expected such resilience. Jake's calm, calculated counterattacks were slowly chipping away at his confidence. For the first time in the ring, The Rock was facing someone who wasn't intimidated by his fame or his size. As the fight intensified, Jake felt a sting. A glancing blow from The Rock's punch grazed his cheek. Blood trickled down, and the crowd gasped. The moment was raw, visceral, and unforgettable. Jake's face showed determination, not fear. He knew this was only the beginning, and that even in pain, he had to stay composed. The second round began, and the energy in the arena was electrifying. Fans were on the edge of their seats, phones raised, capturing every moment. The Rock advanced with a ferocity that seemed almost unstoppable. His punches were sharper, faster, and heavier than in the first round. Each strike rattled the ring and sent a jolt through the audience. Jake Paul, despite the sting of his earlier bleeding, remained composed. Sweat dripped down his forehead, mixing with the trickle of blood on his cheek. He had trained for moments like this, preparing his mind and body to withstand both pain and intimidation. Every eye in the stadium was fixed on him, waiting to see if he would falter. The Rock unleashed a devastating right hook, connecting cleanly with Jake's shoulder. The crowd winced collectively, some screaming in shock. Jake staggered backward but refused to fall. He kept his gloves up, his eyes locked on The Rock, analyzing every movement. "This is insane," shouted one commentator. "Jake Paul is bleeding, but he's still standing. The resilience is unbelievable." The Rock's arrogance fueled his aggression. He taunted Jake mid-fight, growling, "Is that all you've got? Weakling!" Every word was meant to break Jake's spirit, but it had the opposite effect. Jake's calm determination became more intense, a quiet fire burning behind his eyes. Another brutal combination followed. A left jab to the ribs, then an uppercut to Jake's jaw. The impact was so powerful that a spray of blood appeared, glistening under the arena lights. The crowd gasped, the sound echoing like thunder. Some fans shouted in horror. Others cheered Jake's courage. Even commentators were nearly shouting over the roar. Jake Paul is covered in blood, but he refuses to go down. "That is the heart of a true fighter." Despite the blood, Jake kept moving. He ducked, weaved, and countered with precision strikes that surprised The Rock. The crowd erupted with every successful hit. Even in the face of overwhelming force, Jake's strategy and composure gave him the upper hand in critical moments. The Rock is powerful, but Jake Paul is showing skill, speed, and mental toughness. This fight isn't just about strength anymore, it's about heart. The arena seemed to vibrate with tension. Each punch from The Rock felt like it could end the fight, yet Jake absorbed the punishment and responded with tactical counterattacks. He refused to let fear or pain dictate his movements. The blood running down his face became a symbol of determination, not weakness. At one point, The Rock launched a spinning hook, aiming for Jake's head. Jake narrowly dodged, rolling under the blow, and responded with a precise jab to The Rock's midsection. The crowd went wild. Social media feeds exploded. Clips of the dodge and counterattack were shared hundreds of thousands of times within minutes. Hashtags like the Jake Paul, The Rock vs. Jake, underdog fight trended worldwide. Jake's resilience was more than physical. It was psychological. The Rock's arrogance was being tested against a fighter who refused to yield. Every strike Jake absorbed, every bloodied cheek only amplified the tension. The audience, commentators, and even casual viewers could sense that the fight had shifted. It was no longer just The Rock dominating the ring. Jake's skill, courage, and mental fortitude were now part of the story. You can see it in The Rock's eyes, shouted a commentator. "He's realizing this kid isn't going down easily." Jake Paul's strategy and courage are changing the fight. As the round progressed, Jake continued to absorb blows, blood streaming down his face, but he moved with purpose and precision. Every dodge, jab, and counter was calculated, showing that he had trained not only to withstand the physical punishment, but also to maintain his focus under extreme pressure. The bell finally rang, signaling the end of the round. The arena erupted in a mix of awe, cheers, and disbelief. Fans stood applauding Jake's resilience and skill. His face was streaked with blood, but his eyes shone with determination. Even The Rock, chest heaving and sweat glistening, began to realize that arrogance alone wouldn't win this fight. The commentators summed it up perfectly. This isn't just a fight anymore. It's a battle of wills. Jake Paul is bleeding, but he's not broken. And that is what makes this fight unforgettable. The crowd knew something historic was happening. This fight wasn't just about punches and knockout power. It was about resilience, strategy, and heart. And even though Jake's blood painted a dramatic scene in the ring, it was clear to everyone watching, he was a fighter who refused to be defeated, no matter the cost. The bell for the third round rang, and the arena erupted once again. Both fighters were breathing heavily, their muscles tense, their eyes locked in a silent war of willpower. The Rock still exuded arrogance, his confidence unshaken, but there was a subtle tension in his movements, a hint that Jake Paul's resilience had begun to shift the momentum. Jake wiped a streak of blood from his cheek and adjusted his stance. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was thinking strategically, calculating every punch, every step, every possible opening. The crowd could sense it. A turning point was near. The Rock lunged first, aiming to reassert dominance with a flurry of jabs and hooks. But this time Jake was ready. He dodged, pivoted, and countered with a sharp uppercut that landed clean on the Rock's jaw. The audience gasped. For the first time, the Rock faltered, stepping back with a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Did you see that?" "Jake Paul just landed a clean hit on the Rock," shouted a commentator. "This fight is turning in ways nobody expected." Jake didn't waste a moment. He circled the Rock cautiously, keeping his guard high while testing the giant's reactions. Each feint, each jab, was a chess move, designed to bait, confuse, and create an opening. The crowd roared with each calculated maneuver. Jake's confidence was rising with every successful strike, and the Rock's arrogance began to crack. The Rock tried to regain control, throwing a powerful spinning hook aimed at Jake's head. Jake ducked, rolling under the strike, and launched a rapid combination to the Rock's ribs in midsection. Each punch landed with precision, forcing the Rock to retreat. Sweat and blood mixed on both fighters, glinting under the arena lights. "The atmosphere was electric. Jake Paul is showing strategy, speed, and resilience," shouted another commentator. "The Rock is powerful, but Jake is proving that heart and intelligence can overcome raw strength." For the first time, the Rock hesitated before throwing his next strike. His arrogance had given way to frustration. Jake seized the moment, stepping in closer, feinting left, then delivering a precise right hook that rocked the Rock back. The crowd erupted, chanting Jake's name in unison. Social media feeds were flooded with clips. Jake Paul vs. The Rock, like underdog rises, like turning the tables. Jake's momentum grew. With every dodge, every counter, the arena realized something significant. The Rock's arrogance could no longer dominate the ring. Jake's bloodied face and determined eyes told the story. This was no longer just survival. This was the emergence of a fighter who refused to be intimidated, no matter the size, fame, or power of his opponent. The Rock, now breathing heavily, attempted a wild swing, a desperate attempt to regain control. Jake anticipated it, sidestepped, and landed a clean uppercut to the Rock's chin. The impact echoed through the arena. The crowd gasped, some cheering, some holding their heads in disbelief. Even the most devoted Rock fans had to acknowledge Jake's skill. Unbelievable. "Jake Paul is turning the fight around," shouted a commentator. The Rock's arrogance is meeting Jake's determination head-on, and the energy in this arena is off the charts. Jake's strategy was clear: stay calm, observe, and strike with precision. The Rock's frustration grew with each successful hit. Sweat poured down both fighters' faces, mixing with blood and adrenaline. The audience was completely entranced. This was more than a fight. It was a battle of wills. As the round progressed, Jake landed another clean combination, staggering the Rock. For the first time, the Rock's smirk was gone, replaced with focused intensity and a hint of uncertainty. Jake's calm, calculated offense had shifted the dynamic entirely. The arena erupted with chants. "Jake! Jake! Jake!" Commentators shouted over the roar. "This is incredible!" The Rock may have underestimated Jake Paul, and it's costing him dearly. Strategy, heart, and resilience. That's how you turn the tables in the ring. By the end of the round, both fighters were exhausted, but the energy in the arena had shifted. Jake had proven that skill and determination could challenge raw power and arrogance. The Rock's dominance had been questioned. Jake's heart had won the audience's respect. The crowd knew something historic was unfolding. This was no longer just a fight for victory. It was a story of resilience, strategy, and defying the odds. Jake Paul had turned the tables and the world was watching. The final round began and the arena was electric. Every fan on their feet, cameras flashing, chants echoing, and hearts pounding. Sweat and blood streaked both fighters, but there was no sign of retreat. The Rock, still towering and powerful, was now visibly frustrated. His arrogance, once unshakable, had begun to crack under Jake Paul's relentless resilience and strategy. Jake stood in the center of the ring, gloves raised, muscles tense, eyes locked on the Rock. Every movement was calculated, every feint purposeful. He was no longer just defending himself. He was dominating the psychological battlefield as well. The crowd sensed it. Every whisper, every cheer, every gasp heightened the drama. This was no longer merely a fight. It was a story of determination, heart, and the triumph of preparation over raw arrogance. The Rock charged, throwing a series of powerful hooks meant to intimidate and overpower Jake. But Jake dodged, weaving under a right swing, sidestepping a left, and countering with a sharp combination that landed cleanly on the Rock's ribs and jaw. The sound of impact echoed through the arena, drawing gasps and screams from the audience. The Rock staggered slightly. For the first time in the fight, his confidence wavered. "Unbelievable," shouted the commentator. "Jake Paul is doing the impossible. He's taking control against the Rock." Jake seized the moment. He feinted to the left, drawing the Rock into an overcommitment. With lightning speed, he stepped in and landed a powerful uppercut that snapped the Rock's head back. The crowd erupted into frenzied cheers. Phones flashed like a galaxy of stars, capturing every historic moment. Social media exploded with clips of the fight, fans across the world sharing in real time. Jake Paul vs. The Rock, our underdog climbs. Fight of the century. The Rock's eyes widened with a mix of shock and respect. For the first time, he realized that brute strength alone would not secure victory. Jake's calm, precise, and fearless approach had turned the fight completely. Every dodge, every counterattack, every calculated strike had chipped away at the Rock's dominance. The tension in the arena was palpable. The crowd held its collective breath as Jake landed a spinning hook to the Rock's side, staggering him further. Blood and sweat flew, mixing on both fighters as the final moments approached. Every punch, every block, every feint told a story of determination versus arrogance. Preparation versus raw power. If you were in Jake's shoes at this moment, what would you do next? Go all out or wait for the perfect opening? Type your answer in the comments below. I'm reading every response. The Rock tried to regain control, throwing a desperate wild swing. Jake anticipated it perfectly, dodging, slipping, and countering with a precision combination that landed cleanly on the Rock's jaw. The crowd exploded, roaring in unison. The arena vibrated with energy. Even the Rock's supporters had to acknowledge Jake's skill. Every camera captured the moment. Jake Paul, bloodied but unbroken, standing tall and commanding respect. The Rock, for the first time, looked humbled, not defeated, but forced to acknowledge the heart, skill, and determination of his opponent. The audience sensed a historic shift. The underdog had risen, and the balance of power had changed. Commentators shouted over the roar of the crowd, "Jake Paul has done what no one expected." He's turned the fight completely, proving that resilience, strategy, and heart can overcome even the greatest power and arrogance. As the bell rang to signal the end of the fight, the arena erupted in cheers, chants, and applause. Both fighters stood in the center, breathing heavily. Blood and sweat streaked across their faces, but with a mutual recognition of each other's courage and skill. The Rock extended a hand, finally acknowledging Jake's victory in spirit, if not by score. Jake accepted, raising the Rock's hand for the crowd to see, a sign of respect and sportsmanship. The social media world exploded. Clips of the final round went viral instantly, millions of fans praising Jake's composure, skill, and determination. Comments poured in from around the globe. Admiration, shock, and inspiration flooded every platform. The story of an underdog standing up to a legend, bleeding yet undefeated in spirit, captured hearts worldwide. By the end of the night, it was clear. This wasn't just a fight. It was a story of courage against arrogance, strategy against raw power, and heart against intimidation. Jake Paul had reached the climax of his battle, earning respect and proving that resilience, focus, and determination could truly change the course of history. If you were in Jake's shoes, would you fight back aggressively or stay defensive like him? Type your answer in the comments. I want to see what you do. The commentators shouted over the crowd. Look at Jake Paul! He's bleeding, but he's not backing down. That's the heart of a fighter. Every dodge, every punch, every counterattack was a battle not just of strength, but of will. The arena seemed to vibrate with anticipation as the fighters circled each other. The Rock's arrogance was still there, but Jake's composure was winning respect from fans, commentators, and even The Rock himself. As the round continued, the tension escalated. The crowd leaned forward, screaming, phones recording every second. Social media feeds exploded with clips. Jake Paul is holding his own. The Rock is shocked. This is the fight of the year. The bell for the first round finally rang, signaling a brief pause. Jake's chest heaved, sweat and blood mixing on his face. He raised his gloves to the crowd, acknowledging their energy. The Rock glared at him, frustration clear in his eyes. It was more than just a fight now. It was a battle of heart, strategy, and courage. Jake had survived the first strike, and the arena knew the story was just beginning. The final bell had rung, and the arena was still buzzing with energy. Fans erupted into deafening cheers, waving flags, holding up signs, and capturing the historic fight on their phones. Jake Paul, bloodied but triumphant in spirit, raised his gloves, acknowledging the roar of the crowd. Every fan in the stadium, and millions watching online, knew they had witnessed something unforgettable. The Rock, towering and powerful as ever, finally lowered his fists. For the first time, his arrogance had softened into respect. He extended a hand to Jake, a silent acknowledgement of the underdog's courage and skill. Jake shook it firmly, raising The Rock's hand slightly. Not to claim victory over him, but to demonstrate sportsmanship, humility, and respect. The audience cheered even louder, appreciating not only the fight but the character displayed by both men. Social media exploded. Clips of Jake's counterattacks, his calm composure under relentless attacks, and the dramatic final moments went viral within minutes. Fans across the world flooded platforms with reactions, admiration, awe, and inspiration. Hashtags like "Y'all Jake Paul's The Rock," "Y'all Underdog Victory," and "Y'all Respect in the Ring" trended globally. People were inspired by Jake's courage and his refusal to be intimidated by someone far stronger and more famous. News outlets highlighted the story as more than just a fight. Commentators praised Jake for his mental strength, strategic thinking, and resilience. Analysts compared this battle to some of the most iconic moments in sports history, emphasizing that character and determination could stand equal to raw power. For many viewers, Jake had become a symbol of what it means to fight with heart, regardless of odds. Meanwhile, The Rock, though beaten in spirit, had earned respect as well. His acknowledgement of Jake's skill and determination resonated widely. The clash was no longer just about strength or fame. It had become a lesson in humility, respect, and courage under pressure. Fans appreciated that even legends must recognize heart, skill, and perseverance. As news of the fight spread worldwide, millions shared videos and commentary. People discussed Jake's strategy, his calm in the face of brutality, and his courage in standing tall despite blood and pain. The story became a viral sensation, not just for the punches thrown, but for the message it conveyed: determination, resilience, and heart can overcome even the greatest of challenges. Jake Paul, though battered, addressed the crowd and cameras afterward. This fight wasn't just about proving strength. It's about proving that heart, respect, and focus matter more than arrogance. No one is too powerful to be humbled, and no one is too small to make a stand. The crowd erupted again, moved not only by the fight, but by the message. Social media lit up with comments, messages of inspiration, and praise for Jake's courage. Millions of viewers worldwide shared the story, inspired to stand firm in their own challenges. If you believe that courage, determination, and respect can overcome arrogance and power, type respect in the comments below. Subscribe for more stories of bravery, heart, and unforgettable battles like this one. The fight would be remembered not just for the blows exchanged, but for the lesson it left behind. True strength isn't measured by size, fame, or raw power. It's measured by resilience, heart, and the ability to stand tall in the face of impossible odds.